I started working on this sketch by choosing the format. I used a sheet of thick paper size 1.1 to convey the figure in natural proportion without distortion. I chose a simple HB2 graphite pencil for the work. It is universal, allows you to draw both light auxiliary lines and clearer contours. I kept an eraser at hand to correct inaccuracies without damaging the paper. Composition and basic shapes. First, I outlined the horizontal of the table to set the perspective and position of the figure in space. Then, the general oval of the head, slightly tilted to catch the turn. The vertical line in the center of the face helped me build symmetry. Rough marking of the body. I outlined the shoulders, general outlines of the torso, hands. The person holds a spoon to his mouth with one and props up his chin with the other. It was important to catch this gesture. It adds liveliness and mood to the scene. Facial features and facial expressions. Then I drew the facial features, eyes, nose, mouth. I tried to leave a smile. It conveys the emotional state of the character. This required special precision, so as not to make the face distorted, especially given the tilt of the head. I added a necklace, elements on the sleeves, shadows under the neck. I lightly outlined the fabric without going into the texture. The main thing was to convey the general character of the clothes. At the back, I slightly outlined the figure in the background, like a silhouette, so as not to overload the drawing. In the front, a glass of ice cream or a drink placed it a little closer to the viewer. This created a sense of depth. Contours and final elaboration. I went over the main lines with more confident pressure, erased unnecessary sketches with an eraser. I left some lines deliberately simple. I wanted the drawing to look light, as if done on the fly, like a moment from life. On thick paper, the girl's figure, table, glass with dessert and background. The composition is simple and intimate. A portrait scene with an emphasis on the facial expression. I started with the background to set the mood for the whole work. First, I applied light yellow acrylic with a medium brush, diluting it with water so that it would lay evenly. Gradually, I added ochre and a drop of brown, deepening the tone towards the corners to achieve the effect of depth and volume. This created the impression of lighting from within the scene. I moved on to filling in large objects. The girl's skin is a mixture of flesh and light pink. I tried not to overdo it to keep it lively. The t-shirt is a pure green turquoise color. I used a medium brush, then added shadows near the folds and under the arms. Hair. I started with light yellow, then added orange and ochre strokes to emphasize the texture in chiaroscuro. The table is dark brown, almost black, to ground the composition. Dessert. Yellow glass, brown spots on top. Looks like chocolate chip ice cream. To add a domestic accent. Detailing and elaboration of elements. At this stage, I took a thin brush and moved on to more precise details. Face. Clear eyes, mouth with a bright smile. Added a little white to the teeth to emphasize the emotions. Jewelry, chain with a pendant, bracelets, wrist jewelry. Contour elaboration. Went along the edges with black paint to stylize it as graphics and highlight the lines. This gave the work a bit of comic book, cartoon charm. Checked the composition. Added some shadows under the hand. Clarified the glare on the phone. Carefully worked out the transitions of light and shadow, especially on the face and clothes. The work turned out bright, friendly, with a slight naivety. Thanks to acrylic, the colors are saturated, not faded. A clear outline adds graphic quality and lively shadows and textures, volume. Critical analysis of the painting. Overall assessment of the composition. The composition is simple and legible. The center of attention is the figure of the girl, placed almost in the center, with a slight tilt of the head and a smiling expression on her face. This creates a sense of a live moment and ease. What happened? A clear focus on the character. The space is not overloaded with unnecessary details. This is a plus. What should be improved? The horizon line and the perspective of the table are not quite legible. It seems that the table goes up the plane, losing depth. You can add an object in the background, for example, a window or a lamp, to break up the plane of the background and enhance the feeling of real space. Color palette and lighting. The palette is bright, warm, with a predominance of yellow and green shades. What happened? The yellow background creates an atmosphere of coziness, warmth, almost sunlight. The turquoise t-shirt contrasts with the background and pulls the character forward. The hair, done in yellow-orange tones, matches the background and adds cheerfulness. What didn't work? The skin tone is too uniform. There aren't enough shadows and shades. This makes the face look flat. The dessert blends in with the table and color. The contrast between the objects could be higher. Perhaps the background is too uniform. It would be good to introduce a soft gradient or light texture. Lines and contours. The use of black contours gives the work a stylized look, close to pop art or children's illustration. What worked? All objects are legible. The girl's silhouette and accessories stand out thanks to the confident line. What didn't work? The face contour is too thick in places, especially in the cheek area. It's rough and ruins the softness of the image. The line on the neck and right hand, to the left of the viewer, is too hard. It looks like an anatomical error. Advice: make the contours of variable thickness, thinner in some places, disappearing in others. This will give depth and breathing. Detailing what happened. Accessories are well designed, bracelets, chain, pendant. They create individuality. The smile is bright, recognizable. This is the emotional center of the work. What should be added? A little chiaroscuro on the face, on the t-shirt, to show volume. Glare on the table, jewelry to enhance realism. Atmosphere and style. The work is done in a naive graphic style, close to illustration or children's book graphics. This adds lightness and warmth. The atmosphere is homely, positive. It is clear that the character's happy, that the moment was captured with love. What happened? The emotion is conveyed clearly. There's a sense of a story, a moment from life. Who will be interested in children and teenagers? Thanks to bright colors and clear form, lovers of naive art, stylized graphics. For amateur exhibitions, children's illustrations, interior design. What to change, what to leave? Leave brightness and emotion. Stylization, it works. Accessories and a smile as the center of the image. Add volume and shadows, especially on the face and background. 1 or 2 objects in the background. More color transitions and nuances. Remove or weaken excessively hard contours. Uniformity of skin color and background.